Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. But before we start our main program, we're going to have a recitation of Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. هو الذي خلقكم فمنكم كافر ومنكم مؤمن والله بما تعملون بصير. خلق السماوات والأرض بالحق وصوركم فأحسن صوركم وإليه المصير. يعلم ما في السماوات والأرض ويعلم ما تسرون وما تعلنون والله عليم بذات الصدور. ألم يأتكم نبأ الذين كفروا من قبل فذاقوا وبال أمرهم ولهم عذاب أليم. ذلك بأنه كانت تأتيهم رسلهم بالبينات فقالوا أبشر يهدوننا فكفروا وتولوا واستغنى الله والله غني حميد. زعم الذين كفروا أن لن يبعثوا قل بلى وربي لتبعثن ثم لتنبؤن بما عملتم وذلك على الله يسير. فآمنوا بالله ورسوله والنور الذي أنزلنا والله بما تعملون خبير. يوم يجمعكم ليوم الجمع ذلك يوم التغابن. ومن يؤمن بالله ويعمل صالحا يكفر عنه سيئاته ويدخله جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا ذلك الفوز العظيم. والذين كفروا وكذبوا بآياتنا أولئك أصحاب النار خالدين فيها وبئس المصير. ما أصاب من مصيبة إلا بإذن الله ومن يؤمن بالله يهد قلبه والله بكل شيء عليم. وأطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول فإن توليتم فإنما على رسولنا البلاغ المبين. الله لا إله إلا هو وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن من أزواجكم وأولادكم عدوا لكم فاحذروهم وإن تعفوا وتصفحوا وتغفروا فإن الله غفور رحيم. إنما أموالكم وأولادكم فتنة والله عنده أجر عظيم. فاتقوا الله ما استطعتم واسمعوا وأطيعوا وأنفقوا خيرا لأنفسكم ومن يوق شح نفسه فأولئك هم المفلحون. إن تقرضوا الله قرضا حسنا يضاعفه لكم ويغفر لكم والله شكور حليم عالم الغيب والشهادة العزيز الحكيم صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Thank you very much for that beautiful recitation. We're now very fortunate today to have Qari Sayed Jalal Masoomi, who'll be speaking to us about Quranic recitation and melodies. Where does it all come from? Qari Sayed Jalal Masoomi is a tutor, a teacher, and a reciter of Quran in the UK, and inshallah will be able to give us a greater insight on this important topic. Just a couple of notes to where this idea came from. Many of you may have seen someone called Nourin Muhammad Sadiq, who died in February, and many people were speaking to us about all the different Quranic recitations and melodies, and were entranced by his specific recitation. And from then, we decided to try and bring someone who can give and shed light on this important topic. So, without further ado, Qari Sayed Jalal, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Do you hear me, brother?
Hear you perfectly. Thank you so much, sir.
I take this opportunity to say salam to you and to our dear viewers, and many congratulations on the arrival of the this holy month, the month of Rajab. May Allah accept from all of you the prayers you're doing, as Brother Muqdad mentioned. So the workshop would be about the Quranic recitations and melodies. Actually, of course, this topic is not just for this 45 minutes, because it requires years of studies about just recitation of the Holy Quran, and then the melodies which we use in the recitation of the Holy Quran, and then different styles or types of recitation. I'm just going to share with you some of the information. So I have, during about 30 to 35 years working with Quran and being with Quran, and that's a great opportunity for me to be at the service of Quran and Ahlul Bayt. So first of all, I'm just make sure that inshallah you will see the slide as well. Of course you see it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, in Surah Al-Muzammil, in verse number 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. So here it starts the main point. وَرَتِّل, it is, the rattil itself is the imperative verb. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders us. It's an imperative. So we have to recite the Holy Quran tartila. What is tartila? Inshallah, we'll get through that and we'll find exactly tartila. So as Imam Ali alayhi salam mentioned, so pronounce each letter from its point of articulation, and with the correct qualities of letters and rules of letters, and observing the stopping and starting rules. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, in Surah Al-Muzammil, says وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. And in the same surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in ayah number 20 again emphasizes فَقْرَأُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. As much as you can, recite the Holy Quran. So the recitation of the Holy Quran is highly recommended, and we should do that. And even for the third time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions فَقْرَأُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنْ. What our great Prophet says, I'm just going to start for the importance of recitation of the Holy Quran and Quran itself, because we have to know this. And we have to know that Quran is not just for amwat. Quran is not for the people they passed away and just for Fatiha or those types of programs. Quran is for ahya. Quran is for us. We live with Quran, so we should dedicate the time for Quran. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his progeny, he says, خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. The best among you is the one who learns Quran and teaches to the others. So that is very authentic and important hadith about the importance of recitation of the Holy Quran. And again, we have another hadith. So we come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then Prophet, and then Imam Ali alayhi salam. Another hadith from our great Prophet says, أفضل العبادة قراءة القرآن. So the best And the greatest religious ritual is the recitation of the Holy Quran. So the best ibadah, the best worship is recitation of the Holy Quran. We shouldn't leave the recitation of the Holy Quran just for the holy month of Ramadan. Of course, it is the holy month which Quran revealed. But Quran is not for Ramadan. Quran is not for Amwat. Quran is for the whole year and for every day. This is the important things as we have for the especially melody, because we are talking tonight about this. But I'm sure we might need more of these types of workshop and seminars about the melodies, about the recitation of the Holy Quran. Because many people, they say that we shouldn't recite Quran with melody. Quran shouldn't be recited with melodies or something related to music or melodies. But we have hadith from our great prophet. He says, لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ لَمْ يَتَغَنَّ بِالْقُرْآنِ. So the one, he or she, is not from us who does not chant or recite melodiously the Holy Quran. So this chanting or reciting melodiously the Holy Quran is exactly the hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam, because he says what is tartil or tajweed. Imam Ali alayhi salam says tartil or tajweed or tahdir. Inshallah, I will explain these terminologies. And meanwhile, inshallah, if you have any questions, so at the end of this workshop or seminar, inshallah, will be at your service to answer your question if I can, inshallah. So tartil or tajweed or tahdir is actually pronunciation of letters and keeping or observing the stopping points. So the hadith of our great prophet who says, لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ لَمْ يَتَغَنَّ بِالْقُرْآنِ, it is very important, and we have to follow this hadith, that we have to recite Quran as it was revealed to our great prophet. Now, as I mentioned, for, the terminologies of tahqiq, tartil, and tahdir, this is very important. Some of you might know, and some of you, it might be new for you. What is tahqiq or tajweed? It depends on the speed of your recitation. When we recite Quran, like for example, in a slow mood, like we usually do it for the opening ceremonies, it's like this. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. This type is actually tahqiq or tajweed. And then we have tartil, which is in the medium speed, and then tahdir, which is the fastest way. So this is the three types of recitation of the Holy Quran. We come for the recitation of the Holy Quran. We have as well another hadith which Prophet says, لكل شيء حلية. For everything is a beauty, and the beauty of Quran is صوت الحسن. لكل شيء حلية وحلية القرآن صوت الحسن. So everything has a beauty or something good or nice, but the best gift of Quran, or the best beauty we can say for Quran, is the good voice or melodious voice. Briefly, I have to explain what is sound, but of course it's related to physics as well. So just quickly, we have to know what is sound exactly. So it's actually basically a pattern or formed in the vibration or movement of molecules of air. So when we talk, actually it is the formation we have, and that is the reason we have a sender and then a receiver. These are some explanation about the sound itself, what is exactly, because when we come to the recitation of the Holy Quran, we have four parts, four main factors in the recitation of the Holy Quran. One of them is tajweed, which is the rules of recitation. We should know that Quran has a specific rules and regulation for the recitation. For example, short vowels, we have to stretch just one. Long vowels, 2 counts. What is ghunna? These are all rules. And then we have sawt, or for example, we call it voice. Voice has a specific rules. Because the aim of this workshop is this recitation and melodies, from where it comes. So because we have to know the voice, and then we go to the melodies. So voice is actually the best means of communication that human beings, they started from the first day. Of course, previously they used to use for example, signs, but gradually by the help of technology, so it changed to the letters. And then we had, for example, signs of the Quran, which is short vowels or long vowels. So when we talk, actually the wave radiates out 360 degrees, so in 3 dimensions. That is the voice. Intensity of voice is as well one of the factors. So it's actually the volume or the loudness of the voice. How loud is the voice? For example, I have my sound system here. When I want to recite, so I use amplifier to make louder my voice, because the people, maybe for example, they are far in a seminar or in a conference, they can hear it in a big hall, for example. Another terminology, because we use all these terminologies in our workshop, it is pitch. What is pitch exactly? So we have the equivalent of frequency. So that is a characteristic of a sound. For example, if we have 2 people or 3 people, they are talking in a hall, so we have different frequencies receiving different frequency. Each person has his own frequency or characteristic. So, and as well here is actually when we talk about the, for example, women's voices, it's higher in pitch, and the, for example, men is low, it's in bass. But of course, in the musical instrument, like for example, violin or cello, it's related. The violin is higher pitch than the cello. So now the human beings, they are capable to hear the voices between 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, which is this is the dimension we can hear. The lowest is 20 and the highest is 20,000. But of course, we have always exceptional cases. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows his power. Like for example, we had 2 prophets, Prophet David or Dawood alayhi salam and Prophet Sulaiman, who used to hear even lower and higher than this, so they could connect with animals as well. So voice, we have different platforms. We have articulation, resonance, we have voice sound, which is, everything is just like as a factory. When we produce sound, it's a factory, and we just use it for the pronunciation of letters and resonancing the sound. We have the actually vocal cords, because we should know that the sound which we produce is actually comes from a like an angel, which is our vocal cords, which there are 2 cords connected together, which is going to be open and close. So you'll see the form of vocal cords while it is closed, while it is going to be open, and while it is just open. There are just diagrams and forms which is used to know, because we use these terminologies, like for example, diaphragm, and especially, for example, phonation, respiration. This is all related to our speech system. The form of vocal cords, which shows the actually how it is located in our neck area or in the throat. These are all the diagrams, so I highly recommend that you should focus on that. Exactly how do we use each of them. These are just while we're talking, the position of the vocal cords and the position of the vocal cords while we are breathing. And there's the forms of the vocal cords. And if, for example, the voice is normal, so we have this format. If we have any issues with the voice, we might have any of these forms. We just go quickly from this part. And now we come to the human voices. The voice in general, we have the voice is just divided in 6 parts based on voices for men and voices for women. So for men, we have 3 levels, 3 types of voices. We have bass, we have baritone, and we have tenor. So bass is a deep voice, because the frequency here, the height of frequency is low here, and the voice is deep in this particular case. We call it bass because the actually waves are longer, but the height of the waves, as we call it, for example, dimension of each wave is lower than standard. And then baritone, which is the medium sound, which is generally the men, they have this sound, which is capable to go even sometimes to the bass and sometimes to the tenor. Tenor is a voice which is light, which is just for a man, but closer to the young boys, this type of voice. Like, for example, in reciters of the Holy Quran, bases like for Ustad Basyuni, Sheikh Basyuni, or Khalil al-Husari, and baritone is for Shahad Muhammad Anwar, and tenor is like for Ustad Abdul Basit. That is the reason usually when the kids they usually go to start with Sheikh Abdul Basit because his voice is tenor. His voice is very close to the voices of the young reciters. And then women's voices, we have as well three levels. We have alto, which is called contralto alto, and this is the voice which for women, which is a little bit deep, a little bit bass. It's like, for example, a woman when she talks is like a man talks. So that's alto. And another level, the second level, we have mezzo soprano, which is the medium voice, and then we have soprano, which is the high pitch voice. Now we come to the qualities of voice. Which qualities have the voice? We have shiddat al-sawt, which is the strength of voice. It is the amount of energy and power for producing voice. For example, if I don't have the mic or sound system, so my voice is with the less strength. So the shiddat al-sawt or the quwwat al-sawt or the strength of voice is low. But this mic makes the volume of my voice higher. So the strength of voice is getting more. And ataf al-sawt or flexibility of voice, which shows the ability of voice to go to the higher or lower pitch and higher and lower tone. Inshallah, we'll explain about all these, what is, for example, higher tone and lower tone. But of course, pitch, it is the each spaces between the for example, alphabetic musical letters, like for example, we call it do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. That is each of them is called pitch. The reason we use this terminology is because the recitation of the Holy Quran, because many people they say, for example, it is not related to music. But of course, Quran itself is music. Recitation of Quran is music, but not in that term of, for example, Western music or the music of, for example, pop or rap or other stuff. Quran itself has its own melodies, its own melodies. So masahat al-sawt is the dimension of voice. It is the difference between the highest and lowest pitch. For example, in our speech system, we have 21 pitches, which is starting from actually 3 octaves and 21 pitches, because in each octave we have 7, but actually we are counting from do to another do. We will explain all of this inshallah. Halawat al-sawt or tanin al-sawt, it is the beauty of voice. We call it timbre, and that is the attraction and excellency of voice. You see some people, godly, they have beautiful voices. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them this beautiful voice. But it doesn't mean that you, as a reciter of the Holy Quran, if you want to learn the recitation of the Holy Quran, you can't have a good voice. Definitely, with practice, you can have that specific voice. Tahrir al-sawt, that's freedom of voice. It is actually freedom of air and vibration of vocal cords in a short amount of time. That is called tahrir. But of course, tahrir actually means freedom, because in Arabic terminology we have Maidan al-Tahrir. In many countries, Islamic countries or Arab countries, we have Maidan al-Tahrir, that is the freedom score alike. But freedom in the recitation of the Holy Quran, is like, for example, if I say Ar-Rahman, this style of just freeing or releasing the air while pronunciation and vibrating the vocal cord is called tahrir. When we say Ar-Rahman, because you just release the air in the vocal cords, and that is the reason we call it freedom of voice or tahrir al-sawt. Now, we come to the stage which we have to just explain something before that, because when we call melodies, because sawt wa lahan, always we use it in Arabic terminology, they are always together. So if you want to have the melody, which is, for example, the ruh of your recitation, sawt or sound is the jism or the body of your recitation. So you should have your vocal cord as the body of your melodious recitation, vocal cords, with that. And the ruh of your recitation are these melodies. Now, as the topic of our session is Quranic recitation and Quranic melodies, number 7, dear viewers, number 7 is a miraculous number. So that's the reason we have 7 skies, 7 days in a week, 7 qalas, 7 tawaf we do when you go to Hajj, and 7 of these sa'i between Safa and Marwa. So number 7 is miraculous, and that's the reason we have in the melodies as well. Melodies, they are 7. We have 2 narrations, and one is called, we believe that is 7 because it is Suni'a bi Sahar. The reason we say Suni'a bi Sahar, it is because the beginning of each melody, Sad for Saba, Noon for Nahawand, Ain for Ajam, Ba for Bayati, Sin for Sika, Ha for Hijaz, and Ra for Rast. And another school that says Suni'a bi Sihrik. It is 7. They count Kurd as well as a separate melody. But in the school which is 7, which I believe as well, because Kurd is part of Bayati. Kurd is a Bayati figure or color. You can say, when you recite Kurd or when you hear it, you feel it. That is kindly with the sense of Bayati. So we have 7 plus 1 melodies, and these melodies, now it is the topic we have to mention. Who created these melodies? This is the all, inshallah, topic of tonight. We have to know from where these names came. Human being, they created these melodies, or it was in the nature? That is a thing which I personally, I work on this, and I have done research about this, which melodies, of course, each of them has a specific origin. For example, Saba has a specific origin. When we say origin, means that in that specific place or country, this melody is recited more than any other countries. Or for example, when we say Nahawand, specifically this melody is recited, or some specific group of people, they recite this melody more than any other melodies. But now, as I told you, as I mentioned, number 7 is miraculous number, but we always mention 7 plus 1. And even number 7, that is the reason I have done these numbers in 7 and then 8 in another, 8 itself in another color. And each color which I use, dear viewers, it will reflect that melody's topic. For example, the reason I used the black color for Saba, because Saba is sad. Saba is the sad melody, and that's the reason we use this color. So we go for each maqam, but before we explain each maqam, we have to just focus on some more terminology, and then we go to the maqamat. So when we say maqam or melody, in Arabic terminology we call it maqam. Maqam means position, because each of them they have position. Each of them they have actually qadr, as we call it in Arabic language, or for example, value. Yes? So each maqam or melody is divided in three categories. So anything we hear, as I mentioned in colors, so we have 7 colors in the nature, and as well we have sub-colors and compound colors. Exactly the same thing we have with melodies. So for example, let's say, for example, we have red and we have dark red, and if you mix red with another color, we would have a second color. So any melodies, any sound, or any melodious voice we hear in the nature, dear viewers, it doesn't matter if it is, for example, rap, or if it is Quran recitation, any sound or any, even now I talk to you, this is in maqam. When a baby cries, that is in maqam. So we have to focus that the melodies, that is my work which I'm doing, and I transmit this to my students and in different occasions, that melodies are already in the nature. Melodies are sensation. Melodies are the sensation we have in the environment. For example, if when a baby cries, that is maqam saba. So that is like, for example, of course they cry like so in their way, but that is maqam saba. Because when you are in the state of crying, and you are just in a state of pain. Usually, for example, when we recite verses of the adhab in the Holy Quran, we bring maqam saba because it is sad. So anything we hear in our environment, for example, when a dad talk to his kids, do this and don't do this, it is maqam rast. Go, don't go, because it's maqam rast. Because that is the reason all the verses of the Holy Quran which is about rules and regulation. For example, يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول. That's maqam rast, because it is order. So order in the whole general meaning, it comes in maqam rast. So that is the feature of that melody. So maqam in general will be divided in 3 parts. Maqam could be asli, which means original melody, which is one of these 7 or 7 plus 1 melodies. And then maqam would be far'i, which means that would be sub melody. For example, if you have one maqam like rast, as brother Miqdad mentioned about the reciter who passed away, so the way he recited, inshallah we'll speak about that as well, which melody is that, why he recited like that, is it allowed or no, inshallah we'll speak about that as well. So this is something that we have to focus, that anything we hear around us, it is either maqam asli, which is original melody, or maqam far'i, which is sub melody, or maqam murakkab, which means compound. Sub melody is from the same melody. For example, if we recite bayati, which is one maqam, it has melody sub of itself. For example, bayat Husayni. Of course, bayat Husayni is compounding one. But for example, we say bayati nawa, or bayati ajami. So these are the terminologies we use. Or when we say maqam murakkab, when we join 2 melodies together, 2 colors together. When you, for example, join maqam Saba with maqam Hijaz, and you have, for example, Saba Zamzam. This is the new melody. Then another divided thing we have in the recitation of the Holy Quran in maqamat, that each maqam or melody is divided in 3 vocal levels. What are those vocal levels? So we have qarar, which is the first step of each melody, because melodies, when we recite, they have three vocal levels. Qarar, which is the first step of a melody, and then jawab, which is the second, and then third is jawab, which is the higher level of that melody. For example, maqam saba, the qarar is like this. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. That is qarar. And then you go to jawab. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم. That is jawab. And then we go to the high level. مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد. So this إياك نعبد is what is actually the jawab, the last level of maqam. Now, for the recitation of the Holy Quran, especially learning the melodies, we have two ways. One way is sama'i, you listen. You copy a recitation of a famous reciter, like for example, Abdul Basit, Mustafa Ismail. And you copy each part of his recitation. The same, for example, high pitch and low pitch he used to recite, you recite. That is called sama'i. Why? Because you listen to it and you don't know it, what is the melody. But another form, which is academic, you go through it and you know each part of the melody. You know that this part is called this name, and this is the first stage of maqam, this is the second stage of maqam, this is the last stage of maqam. So we have terminologies. For example, in music we have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, which is the we call it alphabet of music. Up. And then, for example, in Eastern school, we have sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa. And that is the going and coming back, because it is wave. So we have like this, which is one just part of the recitation. Any part of recitation you're doing is going like this. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. And then it come back. Do, si, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Or for example, in Eastern or Indian especially school, we say sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, re, sa. That is the alphabet. And then you just change the fawasil, the spaces between each part, because each of them is called pitch. That is, they are the standard pitch. In Arabic terminology, each of them, we don't call it, for example, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. As you see it, some of them we have main octave, and then we have upper octave, and then lower octave, because we have three octaves, and one of them is main, because it's just like, for example, the tone or the pitch I'm talking it's the main. And each of them, they have the Arabic terminology. For example, we call it from here Yeka, Oshiran, Iraq, Rast, Duka, Sika, Chaharga, Nawa, Husseini, Auj, Kardan, Muhayyar. And then after that as well, they have the jawab of each of them. Now we come to maqam as-saba. Why we call it saba? Saba, the first of all you have to know, because the name which we use for any melody, it is called tasmiyah. It is important and it has a reason. Saba, actually many of these names, they have Persian roots. Saba means early morning. And Saba is actually before Fajr. That is the reason in that specific time you wake up and you do your Salat al-Layl, because that is the time you do istighfar. and you say ظلمت نفسي, you do it in maqam Saba. And you say Ya Rabbi, Ya Rabbi, Ya Rab. Saba is the sad melody. Any sad sensation we have when you cry for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when someone hits you, when a bala came to you, in that specific times, your reaction is maqam Saba. So actually, in the field of recitation, we just transmit that sensation. That's the reason when the name of Imam Hussein comes, because the sensation of Imam Hussein goes to your heart, and then you feel that sadness, and then you cry. So Sabah it means early morning, and that is the reason they use this name, because that specific time is dedicated for Sabah, for recitation of this melody, and that is your sensation. So the topics we use for this melody is sadness, is disbeliever's condition in hell. For example, usually when we recite verses about adhab, we recite this with maqam Sabah. Or when it is about calamity, punishment, tragic, lamenting and pain, we recite it with maqam Sabah. The origin of maqam Sabah, when we call it origin, it means that the place which many people and many reciters, they recite basically with this maqam is Iraq, is the country Iraq. Why? Because Iraq is the origin of sadness. Iraq is the origin of, for example, sadness, not just because of Imam Hussein alayhi salam or Imam Ali salam, many other people, many other prophets. So Iraq is the land of crying. And as well, of course, the tragedy of Karbala and the many shrines of A'imma and shrines of many Anbiya. That is this sadness of that country. But it doesn't mean that if I live, for example, in UK, so I don't recite Maqam Sabah, because I don't belong to Iraq, so I don't recite Sabah. No, Sabah is sensation. But usually it is famous that Sabah is based in Iraq. And of course, if this Sabah, we come to that specific part of the recitation of that African sheikh. I think his name is Sheikh Siddiq, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So he is reciting one melody like Rust with the full correct melody of African root. Inshallah, when we come to Maqam Rast, inshallah we will speak about that as well. So that is Sabah. And then we go to Nahawand. I have many students from Indian background, Pakistani background, and Khoja background. For example, many people you watch this program, maybe you have background of India. Many people from India, their dominant melody is Nahawand. Because this Nahawand is actually the way it is recited, the spaces between each pitch is very close to the sensation of these people. When you recite Nahawand, you feel something Indian to you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح So it has Indian sense. That is the reason it's called Nahawand, or it says Nahwand. But of course, there is a city in Iran, in Markazi province, it's called Nahawand. But it doesn't relate it to that Nahawand. Mainly, we believe that this Nahawand is Nahwand, it's related to Hind, India. Because this type of melody, this sensation is too much recited in that area. But a topic we use for Maqam Nahawand, which is very beautiful melody, it is when you talk, when you have conversation, hello, how are you doing, UK? And the other part is replying to you. This is Nahawand. When you tell the story, I was there and I was talking about that, you see, this is all Nahawand. So history or mysteries of prophets, conversation and stories, calmness, resolution, seriousness sometimes, and discourse. These are the topics we use for Maqam Nahawand. Starting pitch is Do. Do, Re, Mi. Do is the starting pitch. Do, that is the starting of this melody, this Nahawand. After Nahawand we go Ajam. Ajam is non-Arab. The people they are not Arab is Ajam. Yes? Because this maqam is basically recited in other countries, was not actually Arabic melody. So that's the reason it's called Ajam. But Ajam is actually the simplest maqam, and that is the reason you can hear this maqam. Many of you might know this. The whole national anthem, the majority of them, is recited with maqam Ajam. It's all Ajam. Or even, for example, now here in Britain or in United Kingdom, when you say, I don't remember the national anthem, but God save the Queen. It is Ajam, because it is recited in maqam Ajam. Ajam actually is non-Arab, but usually we use this maqam in the recitation of the Holy Quran, which is a very beautiful melody, for du'as, for prayers. For example, you might listen to the recitation of Ustad Shahad Muhammad Anwar, when he says, ربنا أنزل علينا مائدة من السماء تكون لنا عيدا. Usually for dua and elevating towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we use this maqam Ajam. And if you listen to Rabbana of Ustad Shajarian, who is very famous in Iran, and he passed away last year, may Allah place him in paradise, when he recited Rabbana, which is very famous, Rabbana, like this way, it is maqam Ajam, and it is starting from Si, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Si, but it is high. Chaharga, which is the tasweer, which is the, when we call it tasweer, inshallah, we will speak about this as well. Chaharga is like Ajam. If you recite Ajam from daraja or pitch Fa, it will be char. That is called Chaharga. And then we go to Maqam Bayati. So Ajam is Ajam. Basically, the origin of Ajam is Persia. It's any place except Arabia, but usually at that time it's Persia. Bayati. Bayat, it's the name of a tribe in like Iran, Afghanistan, and Turkmenistan. There is a tribe, it's called Bayat. And as well, Bayat is taken from Bayadi, in the dhikr of, in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bayati, dear viewers, is al-Maqamat. Why we call it, I used the pink color because of the love of mother. So Bayati is al Maqamat, means the mother of melodies. Why we call it Bayati al Maqamat? Because Bayati is mixture of two things, happiness and sadness. Bayati is exactly the sensation of mother. When we have any problem, of course, now my mother is not with me. May Allah place her in the highest stage of paradise. When we have any problem, we go to mother. Because she is Rabbatul Bayt, as the Arabic culture, they call it the wife or the mother. Rabbatul Bayt, the goddess, the goddess of family, of house. So Bayati is Maqamat. Maqamat means the mother of all melodies, because all other melodies came from Bayati and Rast. It's a family. Rast is the Abul Maqamat, the father of all melodies. Inshallah, we'll explain about that as well. So Maqam Bayati is Maqam of Wajd, if Maqam of passion. If it is Maqam Bayati, when I explain it, dear viewers, it's like when you are in the arrival of airport, when you go, for example, now here in Heathrow, and you're waiting for your beloved one. When you see your beloved one, you're happy, but you cry. That is called of Wajd, Shawq. Or when you are really happy for listening Quran, you are happy in your heart, but you cry. That is called Bayati. That is the melody of Bayati. Oh, 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 usually many Arabic songs or Arabic anashid, it's recited in Bayati, which, for example, Ramadan itself, which I did 2 years ago, was in Maqam Bayati, and many other things I did, anashid or clips, mainly in Maqam Bayati. As well, Bayati comes from Bayt, not that Bayt which we call it like a house. Bayt in Persian, in our culture, in Dari culture, Bayt means song. Any song is in this melody, in Maqam Bayati. But of course, we have other songs in Maqam Saba or other, but mainly. So the origin of Bayat is actually Persia. Persia at that time was Iran, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, all these areas. Another melody, so Soni Abi Sahar, Sika. Sika is the happy melody. That's the reason I use this with the green color. So Sika is happy. Like when we say Sika, we remember the Tala al-Badru alayna, when the greatest prophet who comes from Mecca to Medina. This melody is happy. طالع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داء. Good. So, that is Maqam Sika. So Maqam Sika is a maqam which is basically recited for happy occasion. So desire, paradise. For example, in the surahs of the Holy Quran, when it is about paradise or mu'minin, we recite it in Maqam Sika. إن للمتقين مفازا حدائق وأعنابا وكواعب أترابا وكأسا دهاقا. The starting pitch is me. I have to go quickly a little bit. So it's about condition in paradise, love. We come to Maqam Hijaz. But Sika mainly The region of Sika is famous in Azerbaijan. It could be Iran or Azerbaijan. It's that country, because the melody they are doing as well is happy and very fast. Usually, the way they do and the special dance they have with their feet. That's the reason it is just like national anthem they do. But it is happy. We go to Hijaz. You know where is Hijaz? Hijaz is actually Arabia. It's called Hijaz, and we always call it Hijaz because it is our motherland. So Hijaz is a melody which is actually, you might know that, yes, the origin of this melody is Hijaz, which is that area. But usually this Hijaz, it's copied by the movement of the special animal, camel. You know, if you have seen the film of Risala, the message, you definitely see the whole film, the melody is Hijaz. Even when, for example, Prophet Muhammad is in the cave of Hira, this is maqam Hijaz. And as well, this maqam, usually the caravans, the caravans, they used to go from Mecca to Medina, because at that time was Yathrib. They used to recite their own folkloric songs in this melody. But in recitation of the Holy Quran, usually we use this maqam when it is, for example, you call someone, Ali, come here. This is maqam Hijaz. I want to talk to you, Ali, come here. So this is Hijaz, calling. That is the reason call to prayers, adhan, we use maqam Hijaz. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Yes, this is just call to prayers. And you want to wake up someone, stand up, let's go. So this is maqam Hijaz, and the starting is rain. So the origin is Hijaz, is Arabia. Now we come to maqam Rast. Rast comes from Rast. Rast in Persian means straightforward. And that's the reason we call it Rast. Because in this maqam is just Rast. It is not inclination. It is the maqam of just masculine. It is the maqam of that. So this maqam is called Abul Maqamat, the father of melodies. And as well, another thing we call it Malikul Maqamat, so the kings of all melodies. So this is king, and Bayati is queen. So Rast is Malikul Maqamat, the kings of melodies. And that is the reason, because it is really straightforward. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Usually the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we use in maqam Rast, the asami of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر. Yeah, this is maqam Rast, and usually the origin of this maqam usually is recorded again Persia, but it doesn't mean that just Persia or that area is recited with this melody. The starting is Do, like maqam Hawand and Rast, they are starting from Do. And lastly, maqam Kurd. Kurd is an area. In 4 countries we have Kurd tribe. In Iran, in Iraq, in Turkey, and in Syria. And they are, mashallah, they have good voices, good melodies they have. So this Kurd is a melody which we believe that it's part of maqam Bayati, but it has a different color. We don't don't have time to recite more for you and explain more things for you about maqam kurd. Kurd is an area which I mentioned in 4 countries, and this maqam is actually used like exactly like maqam bayati for light, joy, vitality, love. Now, we have to come to the important point, which is effective civilization and movement on Arabic melodies. What happened? So these melodies, how these melodies came, and were there any specific effects of from other countries or other cultures or civilization? So we see it here. The ancient Arab civilization, because the historians show that ancient Arab, they used to recite. They used to, when I mean this recitation, it's not just recitation of the Holy Quran. They used to sing, they used to have melodies. The historian, and especially the recording we have from actually that time, it shows that we had ancient Arab melodies, musics, which those as well affect the melodies which we have now. And number 2 is Persian culture and civilization. You know, the names we have, mainly they are Persian. And even the melodies, like for example, Ajam, which is recited mainly in Persia. So this came and this just affected to the melodies which we have, to the Arab melodies. Islamic culture and civilization. So when Islam itself, because you know at the previous time, the ancient Arab, the melodies was not organized like for the recitation of the Holy Quran. But when Quran came, when Islam came, actually the melodies were organized. So it just adapted for the recitation of the Holy Quran. Greek culture and civilization as well affected to the recitation of the Holy Quran. As we know, the famous scientist of Greece, they used to work on the melodies, on the music. So that was the reason when at that time we had the invasion and as well the closeness of 2 cultures, so affected the Arabic melodies. Ottoman culture and civilization, when they came and when they had, especially in Egypt and in Tunisia, in Lebanon and Syria, still we have some terminologies of Turkish culture and civilization for the Arabic melodies. And as well neighborhood, like for example, Arabia close to other areas, like for example, African areas, or even Asian, like Iran, like Iraq, like the school of Basra or school of Baghdad, so affected. And Sufism as well, because the Ahlul Dhikr, their melodies as well affected to the melodies we have at the moment. So that is some parts of we mentioned till now. So I'm just going to go to another part of the files. If I'm sure that we have taken a little bit more times, but I think you see it. So let me share this part as well. So another part which we share is okay. So I have to just quickly mention this, and inshallah, I'm sure that because we need more times to work through the terminologies, through the reason. But just there are other things I don't want to go, because it is about the different styles of recitation, different qira'at, rawayat, and as well narrations. But I come to the recitation of Sheikh Siddiq, who passed away. May Allah place him in a higher stage of paradise. Because even I remember one of my friends sent a recitation of himself when he was reciting Surah Al-Jum'ah like this. Of course, it has the African melody as well. He was reciting Surah Al-Jum'ah, especially at that part. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. The part which is هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم, which is like this. هو الذي بعث في الأمين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. This maqam is actually rust. This maqam is actually rust. This is actually rust. But it has the folkloric effects of African melodies. If you have seen some documentaries about Africa, so you will see it, these melodies. But he recited Surah Al-Jum'ah, and that's beautiful. So he had the melody, the rust. So actually, he compound that folkloric melody of that's the reason this maqam called Rast Ubaidi. This maqam is called Rast Ubaidi, which is usually famous in African culture, in African recitation. So we have to just think about this, that we are allowed to recite Quran with the melodies which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered and Prophet ordered. But we can't recite Quran, for example, with rap melody. We can't say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Qul huwa. It doesn't come. But this melody, because it has the rast on the top and just decorated by African folkloric melody, so it's still accepted. And it doesn't, the melody follows the verses of the Holy Quran. So he is not extended too much the short vowels and long vowels. So he's not reciting like this. He's not just stretching the short vowel. So the short vowel is okay. That is because when we go and recite Quran, recitation of the Holy Quran has a specific rules and regulation. I don't want to take too much of your time. I'm over time, yes, because it's more than 1 hour. But this topic, dear viewers, is not just for one session or two sessions. But inshallah, if we have enough time, maybe in the future, so I could do my best to do something. Sorry if, I was in another live show at Ahlul Bayt TV quickly. I finished at 8 o'clock and I had to get here quickly. So forgive me for any errors or any, for example, mispronunciation I had. Inshallah, we do our best if we have, for example, next workshop, so we can have more things, like for example this part we can cover, because this is very important. We will talk about the rawayat, different recitation of the Holy Quran. Why one reciter says Malik Yawmiddin, one another reciter says Malik Yawmiddin. These things, and why the rawayat of, for example, Hafs and Asim is the most authentic, and what are the other rawayat, and 10 qira'at, the qaris, the reciters, and as well finally we will say the ahruf. This is as well, especially our Sunni brothers, they believe in this. But of course, we have this in our belief system, 7 types of ahruf. Inshallah, we'll talk about this, inshallah, if we have any time. If there is any question, I'm at your service.
Thank you so much, That was an amazing lecture, and it was great to see that go through. Sajjad, are you able to show the video of that other recitation? It's uncanny how close the way that you recited was literally how this other this sheikh recited. Sajjad, can you show us? Show it on the screen.
إن كنتم صادقين ألهم أرجل يمشون بها أم لهم أيدي يبطشون بها أم لهم أعين يبصرون بها أم لهم آذان يسمعون بها قل ادعوا شركاءكم ثم كيدوني فلا تنظرون إن ولي الله
Allah, 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 Allah.
إن ولي الله الذي نزل الكتاب وهو يتولى الصالحين والذين تدعون من دونه لا يستطيعون نصركم ولا أنفسهم ينصرون وإن تدعوهم إلى الهدى لا يسمعون وتريهم ينظرون إليك وهم لا يبصرون خذ العفو وأمر بالعرف وأعرض عن الجاهلين وإما ينزغنك من الشيطان نزغ فاستعذ بالله إنه سميع عليم إن الذين
Magnificent, magnificent. May Allah place him in the highest stage of paradise. You know, when I listen to him, I don't hear it, just my heart hears this voice, because his voice is very beautiful, and his ihsas, you see the ihsas.
It's interesting because it's not a sound that I was used to hearing. I guess I obviously I'm not as well learned as you in this topic, but you know, growing up hearing Abdul Basit, Al-Fasi, etc., like those types of recitations, and this is very different for us, and it reached sort of mainstream BBC News to share. So if there are any questions that come through, please feel free to share them. But I would like to ask, if possible, that we would like to have you again, inshallah, to go through that second, if that is something you'd be interested in the next in a few weeks or months' time. That would be really, really amazing if you can, inshallah. One of the questions that have come through is, are there any hadith or traditions that talk about how these maqamat or the way we recite gets us closer to Allah, and what are the benefits of using these maqamat in our recitations?
Yeah, of course, as I mentioned in the hadith of our great Prophet says, لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ لَمْ يَتَغَنَّ بِالْقُرْآنِ, he or she who does not recite Quran melodies is not from us. And of course, another hadith we have from our great Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his progeny, which this hadith is actually related about voice and tune. And he says, so you recite Quran with the Arabic melodies, not with the melodies which the Western they uses. That is a very authentic and important hadith about the recitation of the Holy Quran. Of course, yes, we have hadith from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his progeny, and as well from Ahlul Bayt as well, mentioning, especially Prophet says, اقرأوا القرآن بألحان العرب وأصواتها وإياكم ولحون أهل الفسق. So you recite the Holy Quran with the Arabic melodies. And of course, that's the reason the next segment, if we carry on, we will call about 7 type of ahruf, 7 type of dialects or modes. So Prophet, even Ahlul Sunnah, our brothers, they believe that Prophet gave certification that these 7 types are okay. That's the reason we have 7 types of recitation, and 7 narration, and different riwayat as well we have for all of them. Yes, of course, that's the hadith from our great Prophet, and it is in Al-Wasa'il, in page number 858. Is there any other question? How much
yes,
service?
of course. There have been a lot of questions which have come through. One come through is, do you think a good Qari is also a good Mufassir? Do you have a favorite Qari who makes the Quran come alive for you?
Definitely, because for us, first of all, before we go to the melodies, we have to know the meaning of verses of the Holy Quran. Because if I don't know the meaning or tafsir of the Holy Quran, sha'n nuzul of the Holy Quran, so I'm not a person, I say, this is my mentality, this is my strategy for my students. So they are not allowed to use the melodies because each melody is based on the verses of the Holy Quran. In the Holy Quran, sometimes the verses changes. For example, in Surah Al-Inshiqaq, when you say, يا أيها الإنسان إنك كادح إلى ربك كدحا فملاقيه. And then we have two groups, the right and the left. So for right, you have to recite it with good melodies. فأما من أوتي كتابه بيمينه فسوف يحاسب حسابا يسيرا وينقلب إلى أهله مسرورا. You have to show that the people, they have given their book on their right hand, so their hisab is very quick, their actually calculation or their judgment is very quick, and they go to their family. But the other part, you have to change the melody. You can't recite it in maqam sikam. You have to change quickly to maqam sabah, for example. وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ وَرَاءَ ظَهْرِهِ. And those people, they receive their book. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even we don't see the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and just like a person who gave us from the back, they receive the book. We have to show that sensation. So tafsir is of course very important, the interpretation is very important. Of course, at this time, especially tafsir al-mizan is actually the best. So I recommend for our dear reciters. But of course, you can start with the simplest as possible, and then you go to the a little bit higher level of tafsir.
Thank you. Ahmad, uncle, I think you'd like to ask a question. Come ahead.
Yeah, sure. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Why did you say that we cannot recite the Quran in a rap form?
Okay, ahsantum. Because rap is actually broken. The fawasil, which is the spaces between the each page, is broken. It is not in the rhyme of Quran. Because, of course, for example, if you say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, this we call it in the terminology of melody, the fawasil, the pitches in rap is broken, which is not applicable in the recitation of the Holy Quran. And that's the reason we can't use that in the recitation. If you make it longer, a little bit rap longer, of course it's beautiful. But Quran itself has a specific humbleness. When you recite Quran should go directly to the heart of the audience. Like, for example, when I listen the recitation of Sheikh Muhammad Siddiq, it goes to your heart. Maybe when you recite in rap, it might be beautiful, but it is not as beautiful as the Quranic melodies. I recite for you, for example, in rap. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد. It is good for maybe kids at that stage because they are good with the rhyme, with the broken rhyme. It will good for them. But because of the hadith as well, because we know the rap melody is Western, is actually not like Arabic alhan. If you follow the hadith of great prophet, he says, اقرأوا القرآن بألحان العرب. So rap is not capable with that fawasal, the spaces between the each
It
pitches.
be restricted in Arabic. I mean, in the Arab culture. Kind of. Why not? Because rap is very African as well.
Yes, it's African, but the melody which Sheikh Muhammad Siddiq was reciting, it is actually folkloric. It reflects that beautiful rast he recited. But rap, it doesn't match with the verses of the Holy Quran. I tried many times, but it doesn't. Other melodies, yes, because the way they the Western music they do. Of course, we teach with do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. The way they do the actually fawasal, the spaces between each pitches. For example, between do and re, we can have from one, that is the highest. So we can have one space, half, 1/4, 1/8, 1/16, 1/32, and 1/46. That is the spaces we can have. But it doesn't match with the rap.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, I can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Sorry, I think your sound system is not working. I think we have probably run out of time anyway. Thank you so much for joining today. We've got one final request, a question or a request to close us off. If you could, if you don't mind, recite for just a few minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, just anything that you would like to recite in a melody that is interesting, and maybe a mixture of a couple or two or three melodies. People have been very, very enthused and love your recitation. Just if you have the chance. Just before that, I'm going to give a couple of quick announcements, and then inshallah, if that is okay with you, it would be really great to hear. So just a couple of quick announcements before we finish, in terms of our upcoming lectures and what we have in the next few weeks. So next on Wednesday we have Sheikh Jafar Ladak, who will be speaking to us about Mi'raj and Bi'tha, and that's on Wednesday. On Friday next week we have Dr. Usman Bugaji, who's the former special advisor on political affairs to the Nigerian vice president. He'll be speaking to us about Islamic education in Africa. The next Tuesday, on the Wiladat of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, we have Sheikh Muhammad Hilli, who will be speaking to us. And the next Friday, we have Munna Bilgrami. She's going to be speaking to us about conceptualizing courage and resistance in the life of Zainab bint Ali alayhi salam. So, inshallah, looking forward to the next set of lectures, and inshallah we look forward to hearing you more. But before we finish, many people have asked for this, and we really would appreciate, so please, for the next 5 minutes, inshallah.
Okay, if you don't mind, I want to recite the dua of the holy month of Rajab, but with the melody as Sheikh Muhammad Siddiq recited, because I'm just recited now because of the love of this Sheikh I have. He was reciting at that time. I want to recite the ziyarat of the dua of Rajab, the holy month of Rajab, in that melody.
Thank you. And if you can, just before then or just after someone has made a specific request, I know this is unfair on you, but a specific request, if you could recite Surah Fatiha in the different maqamat. You do that a few times, or you've done that before, and someone said that was beautiful and they really wanted to hear that. I don't know if that's something you can do as well.
I did something just maybe at the previous part of the Surah Fatiha. But all of them, if they want, I can recite it now just quickly, and then if you have time, I will recite the...
Of course, please go ahead.
But I will recite in tertil. In 7 melodies. First, I recite with Maqam Sabah, and then inshallah dua of the holy month of Rajab. Maqam Sabah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العلي العظيم. مقام نهاون. Now أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العلي العظيم. عجم. مقام العجم. نعم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العلي العظيم. بياتي. now أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العلي العظيم. مقام سيكا the happy melody. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. مقام حجاز. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Now مقام rest. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. And the last one مقام كرد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العلي العظيم. And maybe the last, I don't know if we have time or no. So,
we do have time. We do have time. Please.
okay, for the, I want to recite Surah Al-Fatiha as well in Maqam Rast Ubaidi, which this Sheikh Muhammad Siddiq recited. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا من أرجوه لكل خير وآمنوا سخطه عند كل شر. يا من يعطي الكثير بالقليل. يا من يعطي من سأل. يا من يعطي من لم يسأله ومن لم يعرفه تحننا منه ورحمة. أعطني بمسألتي إياك جميع خير الدنيا وجميع خير الآخرة. واصرف عني بمسألتي إياك جميع شر الدنيا وشر الآخرة. فإنه غير منقوص ما أعطيت. وزدني من فضلك يا
كريم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا ذا النعماء والجود يا ذا المن والطول حرم شيبتي حرم شيبتي حرم شيبتي على النار بحق محمد وآله الأطهار آمين آمين يا رب العالمين.
اللهم صل على Muhammad وآل Muhammad. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. And unfortunately, we have to end there. It's been a real pleasure to have you today. It's an honor for us to have you.
Thank
and
you
inshallah,
very
we'll
much.
be hearing much more of you in the near future. Thank you so much.
You're
Assalamu
welcome,
alaikum
sir.
wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. Khuda hafiz. Thank you.